4, 3, 2. Okay, today we are going to talk about recording on tape and various other subjects that are kind of related around the topic, because I've been thinking about this a lot recently for a bunch of reasons that I'm going to get into. And we're going to make this video a little more casual than I usually do, you know. Just going to be kind of a stream of consciousness, talking out loud, giving some ideas to you guys. I want to hear a lot of things back from you guys as well and getting your opinion on the topic, as well as a totally unrelated topic related to giving free shit away. So, let's just get started, okay? And in the meantime, I'm going to be like cleaning up my tape machine and stuff just to keep my hands busy while I'm talking and, you know, along those lines. So, if I make some mistakes and say a lot, I apologize. I still think today's going to be an interesting topic, regardless. And since we're going to keep it casual, let's loosen up the tie, you know what I mean? Alright. So, as you guys probably know, the most popular series on this YouTube channel is specifically related to recording, you know, 1960s garage rock inspired content. And I think the guitar rock video is up to like almost 250,000 views, right? So clearly people are watching and interested on the topic. And, you know, tape machines, ooh, my voice cracked. Tape machines are at the heart and center of that kind of conversation, right? So it gets brought up a lot to me. And if you guys would believe it, I actually had a crew for a documentary that's doing a documentary on a famous garage rock artist that I'll probably be doing a future video on. They wind up interviewing me because they viewed me as an expert opinion on 1960s garage rock, which is a problem in and itself, right? That they consider me that. But clearly, as I said, you know, I'm getting close to 250,000 views on that guitar rock video alone. Like, clearly people are watching, and the fact that people are taking my opinion seriously is a little bit of a problem. But that's not what today's video is about. And this tape machine is so dusty. I honestly haven't turned it on in a while. I have not been using it. I've been more in a writing phase than recording phase for my music. But anyway, let's get back to the topic in hand. Recording on tape, right? And if I could kind of simplify today's video down in one kind of topic, it's why you shouldn't be recording on tape, right? Because most of the time you're probably going to be getting me saying the opposite. Or, that's not even true. I often do not recommend people to record on tape, and specifically for this conversation at hand. People have this grand idea about the tape medium, and, you know, I really don't blame them, because if you just go by the online kind of hive mind and YouTube and music forums, it's like recording on tape is like the holy grail, right? Like, that's this tone you want. That, you know, I could go on and on what people say. And I think that's just like a terrible way of looking at it. You should not be recording on tape if you're trying to achieve a specific sound, okay? That is 100% not going to get you where you want to be. For multiple reasons. Really, the sound coming from a tape machine is pretty minimal. For example, I have an Alesis HD24 down here, a little off camera right here, that I have it connected to my mixing board the same exact way as my tape machine. I use it identically to my tape machine. The only difference is this is a tape machine, obviously, and that is a hard drive system. And my recordings sound very similar on the two systems. And, you know, I like using both systems because I use them just the same. It has nothing to do with the format itself, although, don't get me wrong, I do prefer the tape machine more, but not for the tonal quality. That's what I'm trying to get at here. So, if you could compare the sound between the two, you know, my overall sound, and I'm using quotations here because it's kind of cringy saying that, but, you know, it doesn't come from the tape machine, right? I've explained this in so many videos. You know, the sound comes from first the musician, right? Most importantly, the musician. That's going to be the biggest factor on your end recording, right? The musician, then the instruments they're using. Third, the room you're recording in. That has such an effect, especially for home recordists, right? You know, you're not going to be recording in ideal environments. You know, then your mixing board, then your microphones, you know, all that stuff. Even microphones less, you know, even the mixing board less. Same thing with the tape machine. What I'm trying to say is it doesn't have that big effect. However, I must say, I do recommend people recording on tape. If, this is where I'm adding something here, if it interests you. That's it. That's literally the only factor you should be considering, right? If the idea of every time you having to use the tape machine and, you know, spooling up the thread of tape and cleaning the heads with a Q-tip, if that just seems bothersome to you and annoying to you, then there's literally 0 point of using a tape machine. There's no reason. It's strictly because it's something you're gonna enjoy, right? Like, once again, I've explained this a lot. A lot of my hobbies are kind of centered around things like this, right? Like, this is, like, the most obvious example I could give is photography, right? Like, I love film photography. But the end result of film versus digital, for me, it has way less to do with the actual look of the photo. That's part of it, but it's more of the approach, the workflow, the change in the amount of shots you're able to take, right? On a digital camera, you could take literally thousands of pictures in a day. On film, you know, if you have, on a good day, you have 2 rolls, you know, to use up, that's, what, 72 pictures at most? Like, most days, when I bring my camera places, I'm only taking, like, 5 pictures, right? I'm being really selective with my photographs. And that has a way bigger effect on my pictures than anything else, right? It's me thinking harder about it, me thinking about the composition, the metering, the light exposure, all these things, right? And it's the same exact way with the tape machine. Your workflow and approach is gonna have way bigger of an effect on your sound, right? So forget the medium. Let's just say as I explained before with the Alesis HD24, this is a digital hard drive. But because I'm using the same workflow, and I'm not copying, pasting, and I'm not doing 1,000 endless takes and, you know, stuff like that, you know, my music sounds pretty similar no matter what system I'm on. So hopefully you guys are kind of getting what I'm saying here. This tape machine really needs a cleaning. I'm just using, this is white vinegar diluted, probably about 50%. With just regular tap water. And you can't see it on camera, but there's a pretty thick layer of dust, which is like the worst enemy for a tape machine, and especially tape heads. I really should make a cover for this thing. But yeah, that's really the main point of this video, is me trying to make it clear that your tone is going to come from a lot different places than using tape. You know, probably the most ridiculous thing I hear people say, when you hear a lot of people doing this, a lot. People will track to a tape machine and then rip the track straight to a DAW and then work in a DAW. I try not to be opinionated, but that's just dumb. I don't know why you would do that. Because you want that tape sound? Come on, bro. Come on. That's just such a waste of time for me. I don't get it. I also don't get the obsession of, like, obsessing over a sound. It's fun. Now, this is ironic, right? Coming from someone who just said they have a video about trying to recreate sounds, right? It has 250,000 views. But it's something, like, I think is fun, and it's fun to try it, but I don't think it should, like, dictate your overall final recording sound. I have a pretty specific example. I'm not sure if I should say, because I'm kind of calling someone out in a way. Fuck it. I'm going to say it. They're probably not going to watch it. I know someone who, I'm going to keep it pretty vague here, but was more or less obsessed with achieving a very time-specific era of a sound. And they went at it with a true systematic scientific approach in trying to achieve that sound. And to make a long story short, it had nothing to do with tape machine, it had nothing to do with a fancy compressor or preamp. It was literally just a specific set of plugins and a specific setup in his specific room. And the sound that I heard that this person's got that they were going for, they nailed it. I think he's probably the only person in the world that I ever met that has nailed a specific time era sound. Like, it sounded identical. But at the end of the day, where do you go from there? All right, you nailed the sound, but I don't think people listen to music because it's going to sound like a specific time period. Maybe a very short niche of us home recordists that are into that type of thing, but like your average listener is not going to care. They just care about your content of the song, right? So there's nothing wrong with trying to recreate a sound. Like I said, I think it's a fun thing to do, but if you're trying to do it for the wrong reasons, it's just a waste of time. And at the end of the day, we're home recordists, right? I'm assuming, right? If you're a big box record producer watching this video, you should probably get your head checked. But we're all home recordists at the end of the day. And by that, I mean we should be having fun. We're amateurs. We're doing this amateur. What isn't the Latin root of that? Like, for love? Or to love? I think it's something like that. Don't quote me on that. Call Webster. But the point I'm making is, we're doing this for fun. For most of us, right? Most of us watching this. And if you're not having fun, then what are you doing? And recording on tape is probably only going to be fun for you if you're having fun. Because if you're not having fun, if it's not something that interests you, you're going to huff and puff every time you have to clean the heads and, you know, solder something else on your board that went bum, you know? It's just the type of stuff happens. All right, I'm kind of rambling at this point. I think I kind of hit all the big points I wanted to hit. Let's see, I wrote some things down. Tone, fun, approach, vintage. Yeah, just the topic of vintage, though. Like, just as I was saying, you know, not to get obsessed with trying to recreate a sound. What is it with, and I'm asking this of myself as well, what is it about, especially like someone who's my age who didn't grow up during the 40s, 50s, or 60s, or 70s, right? What draws me to those era? I think about this a lot because all of my music, I would say 99% of the music I listen to is from like 1970 and earlier. And it's not because I'm like trying to prove a point. Oh, look at this. Oh boy. Not because I'm trying to, I don't know, prove a point or trying to be something I'm not. It's just, I don't know why I'm drawn to it. And obviously other people are as well. It's like a form of nostalgia for a time you haven't been in. I think that was kind of it, guys. One thing I definitely do recommend, though, is if you don't want to go full-fledged into buying a multi-track machine to record music, I highly recommend you get something like my Tascam 22-2 right there for mixdowns, because once again, it had nothing to do with the sound. I just think it's so much fun to do a mixdown to a 2-track tape machine than pressing export or ripping it to your computer or whatever. It's so much fun. There's a lot of variability with tape saturation that you could have fun with. Distortion, you know, like those are kind of the side benefits. But yeah, that's what I would recommend. All right. The other thing I wanted to bring up that had nothing to do with this topic is I've had this idea. Let me get it. Hold on. So I bring up kind of a lot that an easy way to get kind of a retro vintage sound is to push something like a Shure microphone mixer or a Bogen power amp with your microphone and the gain, you know, pushing it hard with the gain, I mean, and getting some grit that way, and getting some saturation and some distortion, and in some cases some limiting, right? It could be a really fun way to have fun for garage music, specifically kind of for garage music. It's not very applicable for other things. But to make a long story short, I have this Bogen power amp here. I think I bought this for like, do I have the thing on it? I think I bought it for $10 at a rummage sale like 3 years ago. But anyway, I converted it so I made a whole video on this. I'm gonna eventually make it. I converted it so you could hook a microphone up to it, and I converted the line in jack to a line out so you could connect this to your mixer, your DAW, whatever the hell your grandma wants to connect it to. But anyway, I want to give this out, and I want to make a video kind of on the topic of using something like this just to have some fun and as a color box, so to speak. The thing is, I want to do like a giveaway, and I would specifically like to give it away to someone young who necessarily can't afford to buy something on eBay, doesn't have the means to get something themselves. Am I making myself clear? Like, I don't want to give this to some 55-year-old man who is not going to use it and it's just going to sit on a shelf, right? So, how do you guys think it would be a good way to do that? Am I even allowed to give stuff away on YouTube? I don't even know. Let me know what you guys think. How I could possibly do that. How I can make that fair. Or you could just give me comments and say, me. I guess let me know. Alright. We're gonna end this video. There's literally 0 point of using a tape machine. There's literally 0 point of using a tape machine.
Literally 0 point of using a tape machine.